Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome to Zombicide Black Plague video part 2. So part 1, if you skipped to part 2, just part 1 is a quick overview. Is look through the booklet, kind of went over the basic rules, idea of what Zombicide is, as well as we looked at the boards and physical components. Now we're going to jump into the miniatures, which is the exciting part. So we're going to start off with Anne here. Let me zoom in a bit. Trying to figure out how to get it so you can see both the miniature and the card. Alright, so here's Anne. She's got some double blades. She's like a nun. Now, there's not really like any sort of specific class for each character. So like, yeah, although she looks maybe like, she looks like she's probably some sort of nun originally, but there's going to be characters that are going to look like other various things, or races. And there's no special attributes to each one of them. They're just, they are what they are. Now, every character is going to have a spot up in the top corner, which is going to show it can put body armor there, or their secondary item. Now, it's going to be a little bit different for each person. And then, of course, we're going to have all of their skills, which we're going to go over as we go through them. So we have, in their blue, which is their first skill they start off with, Anne here has Bloodlust Melee. So what that does is, Bloodlust is spend one action with the survivor. They move up to 2 zones to a zone containing at least 1 zombie, then gain 1 free melee attack. So it lets them, basically they're like, I want to get into combat. So it's going to give them a free ability to move 2 spaces, because normally it costs 1 move point, or 1 action to move 1 space. So this lets them get two spaces and a free action. So it's actually very good if they want to get right into combat quick. Then the yellow, every single survivor has the yellow action, or yellow spot is +1 extra action, so then now they have 4 actions to use. It's just to help them get a little bit farther, and that can be used for anything. Then when she gets to orange, she has the option between 1 free magic action or 1 free melee action. So this is kind of neat. This is where the characters start kind of becoming what you want them to be, or how you want to play them. If she gets a free melee action, or, you know, so you get 1 extra action, so at this point it essentially gives her 5 action points, but you can only use it for either magic or melee. A lot of magic attacks will hit at 0 range, so you can hit them in the same spot as another player, or the same spot they are. Of course, you can also use that free melee by using that Bloodlust to get next to guys, and then use that melee action to do an additional attack right there. So then she still technically would have her, she still have 3 more actions to use on something else. She can move again or whatever. Now if she hits into her red, which red is going to be very hard to hit, so it's like the very last thing you're going to get. But she gets either 1 free combat action, which can be used for melee, magic, or range, +1 die roll to combat, or roll 6 +1 die in combat. So what them last 2 basically mean is, when I have an item, let me grab an item card here. We haven't looked at these too much, so we'll look at these quick. So if you have an item, it's going to show you how many dice to roll. So the first one's going to be range. So this hits the hammer, hits at a range of 0, so it hits the space you're in. The number of die you roll, the second thing, is your, essentially, along with the next one, the +4, is your accuracy. So, like, the 1's your power, so you roll 1 die. If you hit it 4 or higher, you hit with the weapon. So, if I have +1 die roll to combat with my hammer, now I get to roll 2 dice. So it gets me a chance to potentially get 2 hits off of it, because I could hit with 1, or I could hit with both of them. And then the last one, the little skull, is how much damage it does. So if I normally roll 1 die and I hit a 4 or higher, I do 2 damage. If I have that +1 die roll, now I can roll 2, I could potentially do 4 damage a turn. Or it says if you roll a 6, you get +1 die in combat. What that means is that every time you roll a 6, you get to add an extra die. So if I was using that hammer and I rolled a 1, or I rolled a 6, I would get to roll another die. If I rolled a 6 again, I could roll another die. So basically you can keep bashing on people as long as you roll 6s. So that one's kind of nice for combat, but you know, it's probably better if you have a weapon that lets you roll more than 1 die, so you have a much better chance of doing it. It's like all your starting weapons only do that, so I'm just trying to see if I can find a quick weapon that has multiple dice rolling. So something like this great sword here might not be bad for that. You get to roll 5 dice. It has a 5 or plus to do 1 damage, so it's going to be a lot harder to hit, and it's not going to hit as hard, but you're rolling 5 dice. Now, if you're rolling 5 dice, and you manage to get 6s on a couple of them, and definitely shoot up a lot higher. So that's basically how Anne plays. She wants to get in there and do damage, is what she is all about. Alright. Up next, we have Baldric, who is... Figure out which one he is. All these guys kind of start to look alike after a while. So I'll just flip the card over, and it does show a full picture of them as well, which is kind of nice. So there's like Anne's full picture. So I'm trying to look for a guy with a sword, but if you flip more, you can see he also has a staff. Yeah, he's a giant longsword. He's a magical staff, has some potions. Definitely good little models. So he just used a a sword as well. He has spellcaster to start off with, which spellcaster does. I'm just trying to find these in the book to make sure I read them right. Survivor has 1 free action, extra free action. This action may be only used to perform a magic action or an enchantment action. So he starts off with a free magic or enchantment action every turn. So essentially, if you're playing with one, you get one of those, you're going to be able to do more. Now, you don't typically start with one of those, so I don't think so. Yeah, there is a starting weapon that's the Mana Blast. So you could he could start off with that if that's what you give him, or trade to him. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Then yellow is 1 action. His orange is +1 free magic action or spell book. Spell book says all combat spells and enchantments in the survivor's inventory are considered equipped in your hand. The skill, a survivor could effectively consider having several combat spells and enchantments equipped. For obvious reasons, you can only use 2 identical dual combat spells at any given time. So that's kind of neat. So basically, if he normally you'd have your left hand and your right hand, you can hold a spell in each. If he has 3 more in his backpack, he could use all of them. So he basically has access to any of his spells at any given moment, which gives him a lot more variety on what he needs to be doing or what he wants to attack with. And then some of them, if they have the dual weapon, which means you have 2 of them, you get to combine the dice together and roll it for 1 action. So what that's basically saying is has a little dual symbol there. So if I have 2 Mana Blasts, instead of rolling 1 dice, I could roll 2 instead, perform it as 1 attack. He just used stuff in his backpack. If he gets to red, he has +1 die for his magic attacks. So anytime he's doing something with magic, he gets to roll 1 extra die, or 1 free combat action, or +1 die roll for his melee actions. So yeah, then right there at the end, it kind of depends on what you want to do. So his first bunch are all kind of geared toward doing magic. But if at the end of the game you're like, alright, like, magic's just not cutting it, or the zombies are getting in too close, I can't rely on magic spells because, maybe like, our guys are getting too engrossed with each other. If I throw magic and I hit misses, I'm going to hit my teammates. You might want to switch them over to melee. Or doing combat action, which combat can also be +1 magic. So I like that at the end, they like to give him a little different thing he can do. Our third character is going to be Clovis. So he looks definitely like our warrior. So there is Clovis. He's shouting at everybody. He's got swords everywhere, daggers everywhere. He's got a shield on his back with a temporal. So got his full picture there. Like, he's ready to go. He gets to use an additional shield. The shield lets you block extra damage. Now this is, again, this is something, the shields and armors are something that are new to the fantasy version that aren't in the modern ones. Like, modern characters don't, like they're in a city, don't tend to wear armor, don't tend to carry around shields. Although I wish they did have maybe some way, like maybe they did find something. Be kind of cool, like a shield used like a trash can or something maybe, but fantasy definitely makes more sense for it. So we have +1 die for his melee. So all his melee attacks get 1 extra die, which makes him a little bit more powerful to begin with. Yellow is 1 free action. Orange, 1 free melee action, or Swordmaster. Swordmaster is going to say, Survivor treats all melee weapons as if they had the dual symbol. So now he can melee every weapon, dual wield every weapon. Which is crazy, because you could take like that hammer, dual wield hammers, dual wield great swords. It's if you're familiar with like fantasy RPG games, some of the barbarian type characters usually get the ability to wield two-handed weapons in one hand. This is essentially that. So that way you can equip a second two-handed weapon in your other hand. If he hits red, he has 1 free combat action, +1 die roll to combat, or hit and run. Hit and run is a good ability. Says Survivor can use this skill for free just after he's resolving a magic, melee, or ranged action. As a result of it was a zombie kill. He can then resolve a free move action. Survivor does not spend extra actions to perform this free move action if zombies are standing in his zone. So what this means is he can hit something as long as he kills something during an action. He can then move for free. Normally, if there's a zombie in your zone, you have to spend extra actions. So it costs one action to move per space. If there's a zombie in your zone, it would cost 2. 1 to move to the new space, and then 1 to move because of a zombie. If there were 4 zombies in your space, you wouldn't be able to move because it would cost you 5 action points. And you typically probably don't have 5 action points. Because even like here, if you got a regular 3 and then the +1 action, he wouldn't have that 5th action point to move. But with hit and run, he can run in, smack a guy. As long as he killed at least like a walker or a runner, whatever, he could then leave and go to the next area. So it gives him a nice advantage to like sit in an area, use all of his actions up just to try and kill somebody. He's going to use his final one as long as he killed a guy with his final action to then move away if he didn't kill everything. Or he could always use like an extra one to like rush in, and try and kill something and then get back out as soon as he does. Where most other characters wouldn't bother to step into a zone unless they know they have enough points to kill everything. So that's definitely cool. Then we have Samson, who looks kind of like I'm guessing a dwarf or a gnome. Probably a dwarf. He's got the little hammer, some studded armor. Definitely cool looking. He also gets a shield, if he would like. He has Ironhide. Ironhide says Survivor can make armor rolls with a +5 armor value even when he does not wear an armor on his body slot. So essentially it's saying he has perma armor. Wearing armor, the Survivor adds 1 to the result of each die he rolls for armor. The max is always 6. So if he has armor on, he gets to roll extra. So, for example, if he has the plate armor on, which only has +3, now he has +4. But for that reason, he always, he normally always gets to make an armor value even if he does not wear armor on his body. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him to put armor on if he can use that, except he might have something other benefits from it. Yellow is +1 action. Orange, +1 die for combat or +1 die roll for melee. So there it's kind of your decision on, do you want to have 1 extra dice instead of rolling 3 dice for an attack? Do you want to roll 4? Or do you want to add +1 die roll to that? So what that's saying is if you rolled a 3, you would get to up it to 4. So essentially, do you want to have potential to do more damage because you roll more dice, or do you just want to have a guaranteed accuracy? This is kind of an interesting direction you can go there. Then his red is +1 damage for melee, +1 free combat action or barbarian. So the +1 damage to melee would be as if his weapon did, so here if he's wielding this hammer, which normally does 2 damage, it now does 3 damage, which is enough to take out an abomination on itself. So it's definitely nice to have, or you can take out more walkers because you're doing 3 damage instead of 1 or 2, so that's definitely helpful there. Or you can go to Barbarian, which says, when resolving melee action, the survivor may substitute the dice number of the melee weapons they're using with a number of zombies standing in targeted zones. Skills effect like +1 die for melee. So what that means is, again, if he was playing with this hammer, which let him roll 2 dice, or sorry, this hammer which would normally let him roll 1, if he uses Barbarian skill, if there are 4 zombies in his zone, he can now roll 4 dice. So it definitely could be very useful the more and more guys you have. But then again, maybe having that 1 extra damage is better than getting to roll 4 dice. Or it just could depend on what you're playing at. It's not always the best. Again, it's your own play styles. Alright. Our 5th character is we have Nelly. So she's kind of like, looks like the bar wench. She's with this big giant sword though. A little dagger on her back. Look at her full art there. I don't think I showed off Samson's. Just because they're really neat to look at. A bloody little hammer. Alright, she gets a dagger. If you like, her blue action is +1 free move action. She gets to move around a lot quicker. It's a little bit lighter on her feet than some of the other characters. +1 action. Bloodlust, melee, and slippery. So you've already seen the bloodlust, melee. Slippery says, survivor does not spend extra actions when performing a move action out of a zone containing zombies. Entering a zone containing zombies ends the survivor move. So if she moves into a zone, she still has to end her turn. But if she's trying to get out, she doesn't have to roll extra dice. So with that, with her +1 free move action, basically that means she can get away from zombies every turn without having to spend any of her 4 actions she would have. Because she'd have a regular 3, her yellow +1 action, and then her free moves. She essentially has 5 moves. She could definitely be used for, hey, we need to get into this area and get out quick. So send her maybe into a building, zombies surround her, she could get out very quickly. Then her red, she has +1 free combat action, +1 die roll to combat, or hit and run. Hit and run could be very well with these other abilities as well. Extra move action to get in there, or if she hits someone, she could kill them, and then she could get that free move action out, and then use her extra move to move even further away. Or if she could move through a zone with another bunch of zombies, and then use her free move actions or other moves to get away from them even faster. So she could essentially run into a zone, hit a zombie, move to the next zone, use an attack action, move to the next zone, and just try and slowly work her way through a group of zombies. I mean, it's super risky, because if she misses enough, she might die. But yeah, that could be very interesting. Then, finally, we have Silas, who's our elf. So we've had some, so we have a movement character, we had a mage character, we had some warrior characters. Now we have definitely our ranged character here. We also use a short sword. He has +1 die roll for ranged attacks, so his ranged are better. Yellow is 1 free action. Orange, 1 free ranged action, or point blank. Point blank does... Survivor can resolve range and magic actions in his own zone, no matter the minimum range. When resolving magic or ranged actions at 0, the survivor freely chooses the targets and kill any type of zombie. His combat spells and ranged weapons need to inflict enough damage to his targets. Misses don't hit survivors. So basically it lets him shoot his magic attacks and ranged attacks without having to worry about attacking anything. So if I have let me see if I can find a ranged weapon here. I think most of these ranges are 0, so... yeah, most of these I'll say they're 0 to 1. So you can attack to 0 to 1 space anyhow, which is fine. But, yeah, ranged attack, yeah, it lets him just hit right wherever he's at, doesn't matter. But he doesn't also have to worry about dealing damage to other characters, which is really fun. Then if he hits red, he has +1 die for ranged, +1 free combat action, and Iron Rain. Iron Rain is a new one we haven't read yet. It says survivor may make an armor rolls. No, it's Iron Hide, sorry. Iron Rain. When resolving ranged actions, survivor may substitute the dice number of the ranged weapons for the number of zombies. So it's the same thing as Barbarian, except it's for ranged attacks. So yeah, he can, again, instead of rolling whatever that says, you can roll for the number of characters there are. Plus the fact you combine that at point blank, he can roll 5, 6 dice and not have to worry about hitting misses. He can target whoever he wants, so he can become very beefy for that reason. That is definitely cool. Now, you might look at these abilities overall and be like, they're kind of neat, but it's a lot of just basic stuff. It's because it's the base game. That's why. So, when we look at some of the expansion characters, they're definitely going to have more. If I get into eventually like the guest box characters, or if I can find the Kickstarter content, those characters all start having a little bit more wild and varied abilities. They didn't want to throw too much difficulty at the main characters because they want you to be able to enjoy the game. Alright. That is what we have for characters. Let's look at some items. So I'm going to just kind of toss the book over here. So we have Zombicide items are going to be colored on the back. So gray ones are starting equipment. This is stuff you hand out to your starting players. So yeah, on the bottom here it's going to say whether it makes noise or not. A hammer obviously does not make noise to hit people with. Alright, so other symbols on these cards are the double crossguard means you can dual wield these. So if you have one in each hand, you can roll them at the same time. So if I have 2 hammers out, a card specifically called hammer. So if I have another one that was called like Great Hammer or something like that, it's not the same thing. But I could roll 2 dice then, and then try and do potentially 4 damage, targeting the same zone. The little red hand here is showing that it's an item that you put in your hand, versus if it doesn't have that, it's something that can just go in your backpack. The little star symbols on the top, they're all going to be colored in this version because it's the base game, but later versions or expansions might not have all the colored dye, and that just means what level you have to be to use them. So, for example, if the blue one's not lit up, you'd have to at least be level yellow. If only the red lit up, you'd have to be red to be able to use that weapon. Down here is showing whether it can break open a door or not. And then here it's saying it's going to make noise if you do go to break down the door. And then with this one, you have to roll at least a 4. So 4, 5, or 6 to break down the door. Now, there's some items that might let you open doors without having to roll dice. Just depends. With a hammer, you get a little bit of accuracy for it. So then on the bottom, again, we have our hit range. It's going to hit at 0 range, so it can only hit in the space you're at. You roll 1 die for your dice to see how many dice you do. The arrow is the accuracy, and the skull is the damage. So if you just start off, one character gets a hammer. One of your characters gets a short bow, which again, no dual melee, because you can't double melee a bow. But now this can hit from range 0 to 1 space. So even if you shoot at the space you're in, it's still considered a ranged attack. So you don't get to decide who you get to shoot against or target. But now you can see this has a little bit better accuracy, but it does less damage. It also has the arrows keyword, because there's cards that will affect that. We get 3 copies of the short sword, so a lot of characters get these short swords. So again, 1 for 1 damage. So maybe not as good as not as strong as the hammer, because it doesn't do as much damage. And then finally we have the Mana Blast, the combat spell, which does make noise when you use it. So if you do hit this, it's going to create an extra noise token, but it's also a magic spell. So these are our starting equipment. Then we're definitely going to want to try and upgrade them. So we have the red deck. So when you search rooms, you're going to draw a card from this deck. And you'll get items. You might end up, unfortunately, drawing one of the 4 copies of which is a bad card. This is an ambush. It says place 1 standard walker in your zone you just searched. So it's kind of like you flipped over a table. It was like laying over in the corner, and instead of finding an item, you found a zombie. So there's a couple of those. We're going to get 2 copies of apples, which are backpack items. It says discard just to gain 1 experience point. Now, there's a couple of these that are really nice, because it might just be an edge you need to push you into the next tier. But one thing to also keep in mind, though, is when you're gaining experience using these cards, is that whatever the highest level tier is, so 1 character hits yellow, all the zombies spawn at yellow frequency now. So you don't want to have 1 guy doing all the combat or using all these cards too much, but this might help to like pass these to another player so that they can't get into combat as much. You can use these to help them get up to get their next abilities. We definitely have them. We have 2 axes, so this can break down the door without a die roll, but it does make noise, of course. We have some armor. We have 2 copies of chainmail. So when you're using armor, every time you're attacked, you roll a die. If you hit that, you gain, you avoid the damage. I was trying to see if I found the exact thing for it. So it says, survivors wearing armor equipment on a body slot, so it has to be on your body, not in your inventory, can execute armor rolls to avoid wounds. Roll as many dice as the number of wounds the survivor is about to receive. So if you're going to take 4 hits, you roll 4 dice. Each die result that equals or exceeds the armor, the number is negates a wound. The elected survivor could even choose to endure all wounds for his team and get away without a scratch. So this might be effective if like you're wearing the chainmail armor, and you're like 5 zombies are attacking. You could choose to try and take all 5 damage. Hopefully, you could roll and avoid all 5. Unfortunately, though, if you didn't and you missed too many, they could kill you. So sometimes that's the gamble. It's like, oh, there's going to be 5 hits. Is if there's 3 survivors in a zone, does one guy take all 5 with the armor and hope he gets lucky enough to avoid all of them? Or do you split that up anyhow, and that guy might only take 2, but then he, can try and avoid those 2 hits. So, it's just how you want to play. We have 2 copies of crossbows. So now this only shoots from 1 to 2 ranges, so you can't shoot in the range you're at. So you have to be at a distance. But it does get us 2 dice. We have 4 daggers. And Add +1 die to another equipped melee weapon. So daggers are kind of fun that way. Basically, you get to like stab someone a little bit extra with your small dagger. We have 2 copies of Death Strike, another combat spell. All the combat spells, though, have the same artwork, though, which is a little unfortunate. I wish they at least changed something on them, like the color on there, or did something. Just would have been a little bit neat, like it's a symbol or whatever. But that's alright. We have 4 copies of Dragon Bile. To suspend an action and discard Dragon Bile from their hand, put a Dragon Bile token within 0 to 1 line of sight. So this places that little Dragon Bile square token. Then, if you can light it on fire, you can then destroy stuff in that space. It kills everything in that space. I think it just straight up does 5 damage. Or if it just destroys everything. Later, a torch card can be discarded to ignite the Dragon Bile within 1 to 0 line of sight, creating Dragon Fire. Everyone in the zone is killed, no matter where no matter damage threshold, armor values, or remaining wounds. It produces no noise. Then it is removed, and the survivor who threw the torch earns all the experience points. To set Dragon Fire. Each Dragon Fire is set blazing zombie traps. If all Dragon Bile tokens are on the board, you need to set a new one, remove an old one. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So we can throw the torch and kill everything in that area. So we are going to get 4 torches. So yeah, if you want to spend your torch, you can get rid of that. So that can kill an abomination, can kill, you know, if there's 10 zombies in there, you can kill all 10 at once. The problem is if there's any survivors in that zone, you'll kill them as well. Otherwise, the torch says draw 2 cards when searching, because it provides a light, gets you a little bit better idea of what you're looking for. It says you're spending action to discard to select the Dragon Bile and resolve the Dragon Flame. We also have 2 copies of Fireball. Which, now, this is a card I would almost say you could argue that you could set the Dragon Bile on fire with, because it is a fire-type weapon, but it doesn't specifically say that. So you have to almost agree with that as a team rule. We have 2 Great Swords. Yep, so these are a little bit harder to open doors, but it is possible. We have another hammer, so you can get a second hammer in the game. So if you already had the starting one, you can pick up another one. We have 2 hand crossbows. So bolts, 1 free action to reload, free and end phase. So basically the way this works is if you fire this weapon, you can't use it again that turn unless you spend 1 action to reload. Because it takes a while to like re-stick them in there. I was trying to see if it had the reload mention in here. Targeting, friendly fire, reloadable weapons. So most can be used. So like if I'm standing in a zone with zombies and I have 3 actions, I can spend all 3 to do 3 melee actions right in a row until everything is dead. But if I have a hand crossbow, I can shoot it once. I have to spend an action to reload it. And I could just shoot it a second time. And then if I only 3 actions, that's all I would be able to do. At the end of the phase, I always reload. So it's nice to have like these in one hand, and then have another weapon in your other hand, so that way you can fire this, and then use your other weapon for your other actions. So it says when equipped with 2 identical dual weapons, the required reloading is single action reloads both. It says survivors may fire a single dual reloadable weapon at a zone, and then execute another ranged action to fire another zone with the other dual reloadable weapon. So interesting. Then we have some enchantments here. You can spend an action point to do this. It says once per turn, the targeted survivor recovers 1 wound up to their starting total. It can't be used to resurrect the survivor. So extra healing ability. It says once you have the enchantment, it's not used up. You just can only use it once per turn. We have invisibility. Once per turn, target survivor benefits the rotten skill effect until the end of the game round. If the attacker makes noise, the enchantment is ended. So rotting says, at the end of the turn, if the survivor has not resolved a combat action, so melee, range, or magic, and has not produced a noise token, place a rotten token next to his base. As long as he has this token, he is totally ignored by all zombies and not considered a noise token. Zombies don't attack him, will even walk by him. The survivor loses the rotten token if he resolves any kind of combat action or makes noise. Even with the rotten token, survivor still has to spend extra tokens to move out of a zone. So basically what that means is, as long as they can move around, they can't break open a door, they can't use an axe, something that's gonna make sound. So they can kind of hide in the corner and no one's gonna see them. So that's really fun. We have 2 copies of leather armor, which is armor plus 5, so a little bit harder to use, but hey, potential 5 or 6 is better than just taking damage, right? We have 2 copies of lightning bolt, magic combat spell, which has a range up to 3, so that's definitely powerful. Another range 3 weapon is going to be the longbow. But now the longbow can only attack 1 space away. Now you might be like, well, why don't I use the lightning bolt? It has better, because it can hit next to me as well. The difference is you have to have an accuracy of 4 versus an accuracy of 3. Plus it's making noise versus not making noise. So there is a difference there. We get another mana blast, just like the base game, or the starting one. We have some plate armor, which has plus 3, so this is definitely a lot easier to survive with, but we only get 1 of those. We have 3 copies of Plenty of Arrows. It says you may reroll all ranged attacks once with weapons with the arrow keyword. The new result takes place of the old one. Yeah, so this is kind of good. You roll 3 dice with your ranged attack, you get 2 misses and a hit. You can choose to re-roll them all, but things you have to re-roll all of them, not just the attacks you missed with. We have 3 copies of Plenty of Bolts, which is the same thing, but for bolt weapons. We have 2 copies of the Repeating Crossbow, which uses the bolts as 5 accuracy, but, you know, just 3 dice, which isn't bad. We have an enchantment. We have Repulse. Once per turn, select a zone survivors can see. Then a destination at range of 1 from it, sharing its own path, 1 zone further from the survivor. Zombies standing in the target zone are pushed into the destination. So you can just shove them back a space. But it has to be something the survivor can see in that destination 1 zone from it. So you have to be able to see the zombies. So you can't, like, be in a building and, like, shove them away from a door around a corner. We have 2 copies of Salted Meat, which give you 1 experience point. We have 2 shields. Choose one, 4 plus armor, or reroll 1 armor roll made with another equipment armor. This new result takes place of the previous one. Yeah, so either the 4 armor, or if you already have body armor on, you can use this to, like, basically get a reroll. Your armor roll, so that's kind of fun. We have an extra short bow. We have a short sword. We have a speed enchantment. Once per turn, select a survivor in a zone without zombies. They may immediately perform a free move action of up to 2 zones. Then we have 2 swords, which are pretty decent. And then finally we have 2 waters. So it says discard just to gain 1 experience. There's 6 different cards that give you experience points, which are not bad to have at all. So then the final items we have for the game is we have 2 blue ones. So these are vault weapons. When I say vault, they only can be found in the vault. They don't get mixed in. They're basically more powerful. Now, why they only included 2 in the base game, I don't know. I'm assuming probably like the Kickstarter maybe had a little bit more Some of the expansions add some more, so as you buy more expansions, your vault can get bigger. But I wish they would have included at least a few more, at least 6, just that way, like, each character could potentially get one vaulted item, but since there's only 2, but they're not bad. Here we have Inferno, which is a combat spell, which rolls 4 dice, has 4 accuracy, does 2 damage, and then we have the Orcish crossbow, which is pretty crazy. So it can be either used as a melee weapon, hitting at 0 range, or a ranged weapon, which hits 1 to 2, because it has, like, daggers in the front of it. So in either way, you roll 2 dice, and it has 3 accuracy and does 2 damage. But that's kind of neat to be used for both different things. It's a vaulted range, 1 action to reload, free in the end phase. This is kind of neat, because I'm assuming what you could potentially do with this item then is shoot your bolt, and while it's reloading, you can instead just use it as your melee attack. Because you're not firing the ranged ones. Even though rules may not specifically state that because it's one card, I would imagine that's something you could do. Alright, up next we have all of the zombie cards. So they're all going to have this yellow back on them. They're going to be numbered on there, and that's just to kind of, if you want to keep track of where they go. But they're going to have all our different stats on there. So if we look at our first one, it's just called Standard Zombie Invasion. So if you draw this card for a spawn. If you're in the blue, nothing's going to happen. You're basically free. Once you hit the yellow, it's going to spawn 2 runners. Orange will spawn 5 walkers, or red spawn 2 brutes. Then we do have some other version of that, so there's going to have different stuff. So now it's 5 walkers, 5 walkers, 2 brutes. This one has some runners, and walkers. Brute, and then now we're going to have runners. Now we're going to start getting walkers, these are a little bit more difficult cards. Get more guys in the higher levels. We're suffering at this stuff in the blue. Walker, brutes, walkers. Just gotta keep getting different variations of each one. So now we're gonna start getting more guys in the blue. More brutes, potentially. Some more walkers. A lot more walkers. That's basically, now we're gonna start being able to get brutes down in the blue area. Or runners. Kind of fly through some of these a little bit quicker, because that's basic. So now we're going to start being able to get abominations in here. But abominations are going to, this one could appear in a blue, this one could appear in red. So now you could choose to like pull some of these out. I do like the Zombicide 2.0 and like Dead West with the newer rules. They redid these cards, so it's just one character on each card. So you pull out a card, it says Walker, and this is how many you summon, versus having to keep double checking which one's which. Each time it's a little bit nicer. Plus they also made it so you could pull like the first half of the deck is easy, the second half is hard. So if you want an easier game, you could just pull out the second half of the deck. Or if you want a harder game, pull out the first half of the deck and only play the second half. This one, you kind of see where it gets heavier, but doesn't have a clear distinction on which is which. So just gonna kind of just kind of flip through these all fairly quick, because it's just, this card does this does that. They do repeat though after a while, so you can kind of see where some of the numbers start repeating. And that's sort of where you can decide where you want to take out some of the repeating cards to make it a little bit easier on yourself. But there's a decent amount in here. The book might also say so. So then now we're going to get to some special cards. We have +1 activation. So if you draw this card, instead of spawning something, all these guys are going to activate. Now, that's what makes the game more tense, because if you only had to worry about, oh, zombies always move, so as long as I stay at least one space away from the zombies at all time, I'm fine. They'll have to spend 1 turn unless it's a runner. They have to spend 2 specs to move. As long as I can see what zombies are, I can get away. But this could easily be like, nope, they spawned and I'm 1 space away, and then now they activate. So now they're all going to move into my zone. Which means, hey, they won't attack me, but that also means that they're all sitting right on top of you. You can't get away. If they drew a second one, they would actually then attack again. Then we have one for brutes, and we have one for runners. So they're not like super common, but they can pop up. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that spawn necromancers, which all do the same thing. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 double spawns. Now again, this is also where it can get crazy with this particular game. It says, don't spawn a zombie here, spawn 2 zombies on the next zone. So if you have 4 zones, the first zone wouldn't then spawn anything. The second one, you draw 2 cards for it. So now all of a sudden you might have a bunch there. And then this could keep repeating over and over. You could end up drawing 2 of these at a time. And in the third zone, all of a sudden now you have 3 zombies cards going. Or the fact that it's a double spawn means you could skip the first one. The second one you draw 2, you could draw a thing to spawn a set of zombies, then draw an extra activation card right after that. So there could be some crazy stuff that goes on with these. So it kind of makes the game a little bit more intense and interesting with something like that being able to pop up. Alright, so those are all our zombie cards. Let's look at our zombies themselves. So we're going to look at our walkers here. I'm going to just slide that out of the way and see if we can get... that didn't work. Alright, so we're going to have 7 versions of each of these sculpts. If this wants to focus at all. There we go. So here's our first woman zombie, or walker. So we're going to have 7 of those. We'll have 7 of this one, like a peasant. He's like a little shell thing on. Looks like he still has a beard. We have a lot of walkers, because they're going to spawn a lot heavier. If for some reason you ever run out of miniatures, then everything activates an extra time. So if your thought is, you know what, I'm just not going to kill these zombies, I'll just keep running from them, too many spawn, then they'll start getting extra activations and they'll start moving. Now 7 different ones is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's oh gosh, 40. That's not right. 35 zombies. So if you ever get more than 35 walkers out, then they'll start spawning more. You might be like, well, that's not going to happen very quick. But here, like this card, that's 4 right there. So if you open up a door and all of a sudden you have 3 points and you spawn a 4, a 7, or if you're on like the red, you definitely could, because you could get, you know, a 7 there, you know, an 8 there. Right there's, you know, 2 groups, you know, plus a 5, a 6, plus if they're in other areas, plus they spawn on a regular turn, so it could easily go that way. Then we have our runners. So that's the difference between the walkers and the runners, is the runners are always in like a dashing motion. Now later games started making these different colors, so they made again, this is why some of the updated ones came out past 2.0 a little bit nicer, because they made the spawn, or the walkers, one color and the runners a different color, just so you could tell them apart a little bit quicker. But I mean, they're very easy, you can tell they're running. So we're gonna have 7 of those and 7 of this one. So that means now we only have 14 of these guys. So they're gonna activate a lot, get more of them extra activations if you don't kill them quicker. Then we have the brutes, the big guys. Again, we're gonna have 14 of these, so 7 of this model and then 7 of the other ones. This is the executioner. Oh, he got his axe. I love when they started kind of giving them like personalities, like, I mean, not personalities, but like types. You kind of see what they were. Like this guy's grabbing his gut for some reason. He's like holding his gut in. You can kind of see it's ripped open. It's kind of cool. Yeah, so 7 of this one for a total of 14 brutes. Then we have 1 necromancer. So at least there is the one advantage of that, is you're not going to have to worry about, you know, there were 6 necromancer spawn cards. You don't have to worry about 6 necromancers on the board at a time. There's just the one. And then finally we have the Abomination. Which this one doesn't have any special abilities. There are, again, other versions, Kickstarter ones and stuff like that. You'll have other special effects. Some of the newer sets now start coming with multiple Abominations. The typical rule for that is you only have one Abomination out at a time. So you just have one card, but you could play multiple Abomination if you get other sets and other things of Abomination, where if one spawns, that's fine. But you could have one where, so every time it respawns, it says for playing an Abomination, because you only have the one, you know, just give it extra activations. You could play with multiple Abominations, so every time it summons it, instead of giving them extra activations, it would spawn more of them. Which could definitely make the game a lot harder as well. Alright, so there we go. That is Zombicide Black Plague. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check back, I'll be doing the unboxings for Green Horde plus the expansions. And then as I get a hold of more of the Kickstarter-y stuff, I will try and do them, as well as the other Zombicide videos you can check out. I've done one already for Dead West, which is the Western. I've done some for the Marvel Zombie, which I'll keep doing, as well as 2.0, and any of the other ones I get as they come along. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have questions, let me know. Thanks, bye.